Welcome. I would like to welcome you to episode 505 of the Unpopular Podcast. This is the man, the myth, the legend, Jalen Hunter. Here at the Unpopular Podcast, I'm going to ask you to agree with me. I'm going to ask you to hear me out. Every year, the NFL releases a top 100 list. And in that top 100 list, the main goal of that top 100 list is to draw conversation, is to draw attention to the NFL. There's a reason why they drop it before the season starts. Because they want the buzz, they want the conversation to start percolating around the NFL before the season. It's all a marketing ploy. And it's a smart marketing ploy. Don't get me wrong, it's not a marketing ploy as far as how good these players are, but it's all a marketing ploy, and it's all technically opinion on who one person thinks is better than the other or where you rank in the top 100. While the NFL top 100 and the NBA MVP are much different. Let's get that out the way now. It is very different. But there are some similarities that have to be talked about. And one of the similarities is inconsistency. And for the longest, the question was, how are they determining the MVP? Because it seemed like yearly, the ramifications of how you win that award changes. Sometimes it's the best player on the best team. Sometimes it's the best player with the best stats. Sometimes it's the best player with the best storyline. It seems like every single year it is always different when we talk about who deserves or who ultimately is going to win the NBA MVP. And the reason why I started this episode with the top 100 list is because the NBA understands this. Look, I am not naive in thinking that a league that's worth billions of dollars doesn't understand that in this area, the awards area, a little bit of uniformity would and should go a long way. I'm not saying that the criteria has to necessarily be extremely rigid, but I do think that there has to be at least some type of criteria. Now, I understand that you can say, well, you have to play X amount of games, which I get. But that shouldn't ultimately be the only criteria in determining who wins the MVP. Shai Alexander won this year's MVP. Do I think that is deserving? Very much so. But I also have to, and I talked about this in the middle of the regular season, and I'm talking about it again now. Moments like this would benefit the league tremendously if they had a criteria. Because the conversation now around the MVP isn't, wow, Shai was extremely deserving or Shai was a clear-cut MVP. The conversation around it is, how did Shai Gilgeous-Alexander get the MVP and not Nikola Jokic? Because Nikola Jokic averaged a triple-double this year, which we have seen a player in Russell Westbrook average a triple-double, and because he averaged that triple-double, he won an MVP. So it's like you gave it to Russell Westbrook when he averaged a triple-double. Why not give it to Nikola Jokic? That's one argument. They gave it to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander when, if you look at Nikola Jokic's numbers, his on-the-court and off-the-court numbers, the Denver Nuggets team is drastically different. They're one of the worst teams in the NBA when Nikola Jokic is not on the floor. They are one of the best teams in the NBA when he is on the floor. If that doesn't spell valuable, I don't know. There's a difference between best and most valuable. That's one thing that is kind of uniform when we talk about the MVP. And it's been going on pretty much since the inception of the award. Because if the MVP just went to the best player, Michael Jordan would have way more than he has. LeBron James would have way more than he has. But the league has determined that there is a difference between best and most valuable. And I'm fine with that. But even in that, there have been years where there have been players. You know what? Bump that. Let's talk about this year. I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had a phenomenal year, and I'm not upset that he won the MVP. He led the league in scoring at pretty much 33 points a game. He was incredible. He's leading a Thunder team to one of the best records in the league, number 1 in the West. He's cold. Like there's no ifs, fans, and buts about it. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is tough. And I stood on the table saying that he should have won last year when Nikola Jokic won. I think last year, when you take a team that's the youngest team in the NBA, you take them to the number 1 seed in the West again last year, and he had the numbers that he was having, which you can argue he had a better season last year than he had this year. I felt he was the most valuable. Again, it goes back to difference between valuable and best, because there was no question that last year Nikola Jokic was the best player. But I don't know if his value to the team last year was the same as Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's value to his team this year or last year. This year, you can kind of flip it. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the most important piece to this Oklahoma City Thunder team that is still playing and still trying to get to an NBA Finals. And they look like they have a damn good way. We'll talk about it in a second. But if you look at all the metrics with Nikola Jokic on the court, metrics with Nikola Jokic off the court, metrics with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on the court, metrics with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander off the court, there is no question that Nikola Jokic has had the better season. Now again, I'm not here trying to poo-poo on SGA's award. I think that he had an incredible season. I think that it was well deserved. But it goes back to the NFL 100 list. The league, the NBA knows that this is an inconsistent award. The NBA knows that this type of conversation is going to be had when we talk about the MVP every year. That's how you can get a year where Joel Embiid wins an MVP, even though it is clear that Nikola Jokic should win it. Or where you can say, well, Russell Westbrook deserved it, even though James Harden, you can say, was the most valuable to his team. Or you can say Steph Curry should have won it, or Steph Curry wins it in 2015, but if you're talking about most valuable, why not give it to James Harden or LeBron James? The league understands that because there is no quote-unquote rules to this, outside of just being a good player, that the conversation is going to be had. And this draws attention to the league. It draws attention to the award. It draws attention to the playoffs. That's why they wait until you realize there was a stat or there was a graphic going around. The MVP has been awarded different times every single year. And this is the latest that it's been awarded because the league knew, oh, it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and he's in the Western Conference Finals right now. I feel like I have to sing a little bit of praise to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit. In fact, I'm going to wait on it because my praise for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to spill into my view of this Oklahoma City Thunder team. The last thing I'll say is this before we move on. I think that it was extremely deserving of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to win, and congratulations for Shai for winning, or to Shai, I'm sorry, for winning this year's MVP. But I also understand, and I'm going to acknowledge that there are questions as to how, when you look at the metrics, when you look at the numbers, when you just look at the season, how someone like Nikola Jokic didn't get it. And I will also say this. I know I said the last thing, but I'll also say this. Voter fatigue is a real thing. I don't think that should be the case, but voter fatigue is a real thing. And the fact of, I think that the league doesn't want someone, even if they are deserving, the league doesn't want someone to just harbor these awards. Which goes back to the point of, if you gave it to the best player and you gave it to the MVP, Michael Jordan have way more than, I think he has 4. He have way more than just 4. I know for damn sure LeBron James has 4. There has not been just 4 seasons where LeBron James was the most valuable player. Especially when we argue if he's the greatest player of all time. There's been more than just 4 seasons where you can, oh yeah, that's LeBron. No. I don't think the league wants to harbor, or wants one person to harbor this award so many times, which is why you don't see too many people have more than 4, more than 5, I don't think it's right because, again, if you're the best player, that usually means you're the most important. That's not always the case, obviously, but that's usually what it means. Because in that case, if we talk about valuable, you don't see what Giannis and the Bucks is doing. Like if Giannis wasn't on that team. In fact, I think we're about to see what that team looks like without Giannis. Or we see the numbers with Nikola Jokic on the floor compared to with him off the floor. And I will give credit. Shai Gilgeous has been incredible, and he's leading a team that is incredible. He's the leader of that team. But I do think voter fatigue is a real thing. I just don't think it should be something that can alter somebody's legacy, alter somebody's career. I understand that if you have an MVP, you have an MVP. You're always going to be looked at differently. But there's a difference when maybe somebody else deserves it over you multiple times. And I'm not saying that this is the case for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. What I'm saying is we've been praising Nikola Jokic for being the best player in the world for years now. And rightfully so. He does have 3 MVPs, but he could have 5. He could have 6. I just don't think the league wants that, which is unfortunate. LeBron James should have way more than 4 MVPs. He just doesn't. You can even argue Steph Curry should have more than 2. Again, I want to say congratulations to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for winning this year's MVP. I know I just spent 12, 14 minutes talking about how you can question it, but I do think that he had an incredible career or incredible season, and that kind of want to bleed into my next topic. This Oklahoma City Thunder team, when you watch them play all year, when you watch them play in the playoffs against the Denver Nuggets, when you watch them play against the Grizzlies, now when you're watching them play against the Minnesota Timberwolves, this team, in my opinion, it almost mirrors the 2016-2017 Golden State Warriors, the Warriors that won 73-9, the Warriors that obviously ran through the playoffs until they got to the Oklahoma City Thunder, which they came back from 3-1, and then they ultimately lost 3-1 against the Cleveland Cavaliers in the finals. But This Oklahoma City Thunder team just gives off that vibe for me. And that's kind of why I understand why Shai Gilgeous-Alexander won this award, the MVP. No, let me first say no. I am not comparing 2016 Steph Curry to 2024-25 Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. 2016, 2017 Steph Curry was one of the single greatest seasons we've ever seen from a player. I'm going to say that again. 2016-17 Steph Curry was single-handedly one of the greatest individual seasons we've ever had. So I'm not necessarily comparing the player as far as 2016-17 Steph Curry to 2024-25 Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But what I will say is this. As great as Steph Curry had, as great of a season he had in 2016-17, in a weird way, and I know he won the MVP, but in a weird way, it didn't overshadow how great that team was. Mind you, this was a team before Kevin Durant came on. This was the Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Harrison Barnes, that team. The team that had Andre Iguodala. They just won the championship in 2015. Steph Curry's greatness obviously propelled and helped that team win 73-9 or 73 wins that season. But his greatness never overshined and overshadowed how great that team is. Obviously, a lot of people have the 3-1 jokes, and a lot of people, even though I don't think they should be, a lot of people are hesitant to put them in an all-time category. But I think that 2016-17 team is an all-time team. You have to be. I understand they didn't close the deal, but you won 73 wins and lost 9 times in a season. Obviously, the Oklahoma City Thunder record is different than that team. But when we watch them play, and we watch how dominant they look when they get it going, this team reminds me a lot of that 2016-17 team. Mind you, I do believe Draymond Green getting suspended did turn the tide when we talk about that series. But I also think, losing Bogut definitely hurt. I mean, that was their big man. I think if they didn't lose Bogut and Draymond Green didn't get suspended, they would have won. But if was a fifth, When I look at this Thunder team, they have that leader in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who won the MVP this year, just like that Steph Curry 2016-17 Golden State Warriors. They have a complementary team that doesn't just complement Shai, but does almost everything right. They have that veteran voice, Andre Iguodala, Alex Caruso. They have that defensive force when we talk about Draymond Green, Lou Dort. They have the perfect sidekick. Steph Curry had Klay Thompson. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has J-Dub. And they also have that one player that is uber important but just doesn't really get the shine. Andrew Bogut, Chet Holmgren. I'm not saying that But what I'm saying is this. I understand that the Oklahoma City Thunder just finished a 7-game series with the Denver Nuggets. But that's what's going to happen when you're playing against playing against the best player in the league. When you're that good, that Nikola Jokic is, he's going to attribute to a game or two. But outside of that, outside of going up against Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets, and you also have Aaron Gordon just going crazy, doesn't it feel like it's been easy? Even now, as we record this, they're up 2 games to none against the Minnesota Timberwolves. And they've essentially blown them out both games. It just feels easy. And that's not because the Minnesota Timberwolves suck. That's not because the Denver Nuggets suck. That's not because the Memphis Grizzlies suck. It's because you're playing. The more and more I watch this Oklahoma City Thunder, the more and more they're starting to feel like an all-time team. All-time great defense. And the thing is, they're not even that good offensively in a sense of shooting threes. They're not the statistics would say they're a really good three-point shooting team, but that's because they don't shoot a lot of them. They want to get to the basket. They want to put as much pressure on that basket as possible. That's why they don't shy away from mid-range. They don't shy. Obviously, people want to call Shai Gilgeous-Alexander a free throw merchant, but that's not the case. He just drives to the rim every single time, and they call the foul. Shout out to Kenny from Numbers on the Board. He said he broke it down perfectly. If Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and I'm gonna say the example that he said because I think it was perfect. If Shai drives to the basket 100 times and gets fouled 20 times, compared to if you drive to the basket 20 times and gets fouled 4 times, the rate is still the same. It's just Shai Gilgeous is driving more than you. That's why. And I don't think it's right, but that's why Steph Curry never gets really to the line, even if he gets fouled, because people don't look at Steph Curry as a driver to the paint. They look at him as a shooter. But that's why someone like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, that's why someone like Giannis, that's why someone like James Harden back in the day, that's like someone like LeBron James constantly gets to the line because they just put so much pressure on the rim. For this Oklahoma City Thunder team, it's not just Shai. It is J-Dub. It's Lou Dort. It's Chet Holmgren. It's Alex Caruso. It's the other Jay Williams. It's Isaiah Joe. Like, this team, on top of having beautiful defensive principles. And that was another thing with the 2016-17 Warriors. We're always going to look and say, you had Steph, you had Clay, the Splash Brothers. They're one of the best offensive teams we've ever seen, which is true. Even though they were much better in 2017-18 with that guy named Kevin Durant. But when the 2016-17 Warriors gets talked about, very rarely do we talk about their defense. Even though they were by far one of the best defenses, not just in the league at that time, but ever. The pressure that they put on their opponent defensive-wise, that was spearheaded by Draymond Green, it doesn't get talked about a lot because obviously they didn't win it all that year, but still, this Oklahoma City Thunder team kind of rivals that. When you look at their defensive numbers, it is all-time worthy. They are yeah. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, hold on, Jay, hold on. I remember you saying that Boston was going to win it all. I remember you saying that there wasn't a team in the league that could keep up with Boston in a 7-game series when they were completely healthy. You are correct. I definitely said that. And I definitely meant it. And the only reason why I said that was because of the offensive side of the ball. you have a team in the Oklahoma City Thunder that constantly puts pressure on the rim. They constantly get to the rim. They're trying to get dunks, layups, mid ranges, and free throws. That's what they want. They'll take a three, but they're not looking. Their number one option isn't a three. Their number 1, 2, or 3 option really isn't a three. Obviously, Carson Wallace, Shai, they can shoot threes, but they're trying to get to the paint. A fully healthy Boston Celtics team, they rain down threes like it's crazy. And I just didn't know, and they play defense. I just didn't know if the Oklahoma City Thunder can keep up offensively. Defensively, I have no problem that they can go toe-to-toe, or they can overcome the Celtics. It's just could they at the time keep up offensively? And I just didn't think they could. Looking at this playoffs, what's crazy? And I said this. I think this was the best road possible for the Oklahoma City Thunder, because you're getting tested in multiple ways. That there's not a team, in my opinion, in the East that doesn't look like any team that they faced. That's another thing. Boston, with a fully healthy Boston team, they don't look like any other team in the league. When you have Jason Tatum, when you have Jaylen Brown, when you have Peyton Pritchard and Derek White over here just launching, they don't look like. And then you have Kristaps Porzingis. Like, they don't look like any other team. And I'm not saying that they necessarily ducked anything, but I think them going up against, even though he did get hurt, but them going up against a athletic guard like Ja, plus a defensive minded guard or defensive minded big like Jaren Jackson Jr. and just that rugged Grizzlies team. And then you go the next round and have to go up against the best player in basketball, and what it's like to play against a team where everyone kind of orbits Nikola Jokic, and they work obviously when it's good, they make it to 7-game series. And now you're going up against a team that, in my opinion, looks nothing like the Grizzlies, look nothing like the Denver Nuggets, and this Minnesota Timberwolves team. When you have Anthony Edwards, you have a big in Rudy Gobert who is just there to protect the rim. You have a shooting big in Naz Reid. You have a defender in Jaden McDaniels. You have, Mike Conley. You have a shooter in Dante DiVincenzo. I think that this was the perfect route. And not perfect in a sense of easy, perfect in a sense of you're getting tested every which way you can. You played a defensive team. You played an offensive mind. You've played every team. So when you get there, say you play up against a Pacers team. Say you go up against a Knicks team. You've seen it all. I think that was the biggest issue last year. They weren't ready to adjust their game. They weren't ready to adjust their game plan, and that's how they ultimately fell to the Dallas Mavericks. And on top of that, they didn't have anybody that could really go toe to toe with Luka Doncic. When I look at this Thunder team, it has all the makings of an all-time great team. And in my opinion, it looks extremely similar to the 2016-2017 team. While no, they don't shoot as good as that team. Defensively, they may be better than that team. They have a leader. They have the MVP. They have the perfect complementary pieces, because let's not get it twisted. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander isn't a perfect player. I don't think there is a perfect player in the league. But one thing that the Thunder has done perfectly is build a team around him to make him look like he is. That's shout out to Sam Presti, man. One thing that the Thunder do perfectly is they built a team around Shai to make it look like his weaknesses aren't what they really are. Like, yes, Shai gets into tunnel vision from time to time. But you also have a great rebounder in Isaiah Hartenstein. And then you also have a 7-foot monster in Chet. Yeah, Shai. Yes, he's better than Luka Doncic, but Shai isn't the best on-ball defender. Well, you have Alex Caruso, you have J-Dub to his right and left. Like, you also have Carson Wallace, who's an energy player. This team is built perfectly. The more and more it goes on in the playoffs, the less I'm seeing holes. You can say, damn, well, you just said they're not a great three-point shooting team. They're not, but they don't take a lot of them. Because they know their bread and butter is getting to the paint, mid-range shots, playing defense, and getting to the free throw line. Think about this. Anthony Edwards just went through Luka Doncic and LeBron James. He went through, I'm going to say, Jimmy Butler, because Steph Curry only played like a half. But Jimmy Butler. And it's no coincidence that he's having his toughest series against this Oklahoma City Thunder team. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is not even his primary defender. I think it's Lou Dort. If I'm wrong, somebody can tell me. But this has all the makings of an all-time team. In fact, I'll go as far as to say that it is an all-time team. Speaking of all-time team, we go from an all-time team to an all-time moment. Now, as I am recording this, Game 2 has not happened yet. It's happening tonight. I'm recording. It is 5:50 on a Friday. So the game has not happened yet. But what I can talk about is what we saw in Game 1 against the Indiana Pacers and the New York Knicks. There's a lot of angles, a lot of branches that you can go with this game, and you ultimately would be right. Was this an all-time comeback for the Indiana Pacers, being down 14 with like 2.5 minutes left in the fourth and ultimately winning the game? Yes, all-time great comeback. Was it an all-time collapse, all-time choke job from the New York Knicks? Yes. Again, I think the stat was like a team that is up by 14 or more points with 2.5 minutes left in the game. I think they're like 970 something and 0. Well, after this game, they're 970 something and 1. So, yeah, you can look at moments. Shout out to Gil's Arena. And they broke it down pretty well, saying as though, when you're up that much and you see someone like Aaron Nesmith just going crazy, I think he hit 5 straight threes to essentially get it back in the game, which then obviously Tyrese Halliburton hit the game tying jump shot to send it into overtime, which obviously for people that are listening, I have the Tyrese Halliburton choke sign over my shoulder. All that is true. there's a lot that, especially in a team sport, that has to go into having an all-time great comeback and an all-time great choke job. The Pacers have been involved in 3 incredible comebacks just this playoffs. And they also give you that's the pure definition of it's never over until it's over. Because to win like that, I mean, they were down 20 plus against the Cleveland Cavaliers a couple times, I believe. And obviously they were down by 20 against the 20 plus against the Knicks, but like I said, they were down 14 with 2.5 minutes left. The thing that's crazy, and I feel like if they ultimately do advance and win, this would be the first time in a long time that a team that doesn't really have defensive principles is winning. Yes, they're getting stops when they need to, but the final score I think was 138 to 135. There wasn't no defense being played there. They were just uber incredible offensively. Again, Aaron Nesmith has been like the Steph Curry of this entire playoffs. I think during the Cleveland Cavaliers series, he was shooting over 50% from 3. Just him, I believe. But this would be one of the first times where you see a team really advancing where they don't have, you know how they say defense wins championships? Well, and I'm not going to say they're ultimately going to win, but they're winning on their offense. Tyrese Halliburton has showed why you can consider him overrated, consider him what you want, but he is one of the best guards in the league. The way that he's able to dictate tempo and the way that he's able to dictate just how defenses react. His passing ability is elite. He's one of the best passers in the league. And on top of that, even though he has an ugly jump shot, even though he has an unorthodox jump shot, he makes it. I gave up a long time ago doubting the Pacers. I'm not saying that they're ultimately going to win because I know I picked the Knicks in 6. But there's a lot that goes into an all-time comeback, which they had. That was considered an all-time comeback. And everything that needed to go right for them did. From Aaron Nesmith to, defensive stops when they needed it, to Tyrese Halliburton hitting shots, sending it to overtime, to timely plays in overtime. Everything that needed to happen for the Pacers happened. And that is why, as we're speaking, they find themselves up 1-0 against the Knicks. And the same thing can be said about the Knicks. Everything had to go wrong. I'm not going to say everything. There were so many things that had to go wrong to be on the other side of an all-time great comeback. I said that this was a redemption series for Karl Anthony Towns, because a year ago when he found himself in the Western Conference Finals for the Minnesota Timberwolves, he was absolutely horrible against the Dallas Mavericks. And I said that there's not a player on the Pacers that can go toe-to-toe with Karl Anthony Towns when he's playing to the best of his ability. And I think he finished the game with. Let me see. If I'm not mistaken, he finished the game with like 38 and 12. Like, I know the man was hooping. But the reason why I bring him up is because he, along with every single person that played for the Knicks, was a huge part of how they lost. Being smart doesn't get talked about a lot. Or when it does get talked about, they don't really talk about it in a team aspect. They talk about it with a player aspect. Hell, I get on Karl-Anthony Towns a lot because I don't think he's the smartest basketball player. He's incredibly skilled. He's a really good basketball player. I don't think he's a smart basketball player. When he does some of the fouls that he does, some of the offensive decisions, I just don't think he's that. And there's there is a career worth of evidence to show that. But from Karl-Anthony Towns taking bad shots, Jalen Brunson taking bad shots. Again, shout out to Gilbert Arenas because he kind of, I was trying to find the words to figure out what I was looking at, but he said it perfectly. Jalen Brunson probably had his worst stretch that he's had as a superstar. Yes, I think that Jalen Brunson is a superstar, but the end of that game, I felt like, he wins the clutch player of the year. He has been incredible in late game situations. I just felt, and then you see your lead, go from 14 to 11 to 8 to 4 to 3. It's just like, oh, hold on. So I think in your head, you've got them here. You were just up. You're trying to save the day. You're trying to save the team. You're trying to put the team on your back and let's go. I'm going to get us to the finish line. And I just feel like he couldn't do that. There was a stretch where he was going back and forth, and he was just hitting shot after shot after shot. But the thing is, it goes back to being smart. Not once did the Knicks think to themselves in that moment, maybe we should slow the ball down. I give as much credit as credit is due to the Pacers. They want to run back and forth. They're a fast team, which goes back to they don't really have defensive principles, but they will run you off the floor because how good they are offensively. Hell, Aaron Nesmith is probably their best on-ball defender outside of Miles Turner, and he was getting torched. But when he's hitting them shots, he's hitting them shots. But not once did the Knicks think to themselves, let's slow the ball down. I know they just hit a 3. We don't have to combat that with another 3. We don't have to shoot early in the clock, which goes back to Karl-Anthony Towns. He had a couple of 3s. Like, bro, why are you shooting with 20 seconds left on the clock? You're up 14 with 2 minutes left. Why don't you start milking clock? You know what's crazy? Now that I'm sitting here really running the fourth quarter through my head, a team that was up 14 with 2.5 minutes left never forced the other team to intentionally foul. I understand Mitchell Robinson wasn't, but the intentional foul is usually to stop the clock so that you have more time. Yes, you could possibly be giving up points, but you're trying to stop the clock because your best friend in that situation when you're down is the clock. And I don't think there was one time where the Indiana Pacers were forced to foul the Knicks to stop clock. That's because the Knicks just kept shooting early in the shot clock. Even Jalen Brunson, which goes back to, Jalen Brunson, he didn't play well. He probably played the worst I've seen him play as a superstar the end of that game, because he I know he tried to put the team on his back, but he never said, let's slow this down. And OG Anunoby, he was horrible. He was horrible. Again, I'm not saying that this is ultimately going to define the series. I still said Knicks in 6. I said that before the series, so I'm going to stand on my opinion. But I am here to acknowledge that is an all-time great comeback from the Pacers, and it's an all-time choke job from the Knicks. Two things are very true in this instance. And again, I'm recording this before game 2, so the Knicks can go out and destroy them. I don't know. Because again, the Knicks were up big. But yeah, that's game 1. And game 1 does have an opportunity to set the tone for the series. And if that's the case, then the Knicks are in a lot of trouble, in my opinion, or my pick is in a lot of trouble, but we'll see. We'll see. You know what I love? I love being vindicated at times. Sometimes it feels good. It feels good to know that what you're saying isn't just my opinion. Obviously, all of it is my opinion, but I watch sports a lot. Obviously, I don't watch every sport that much, but I watch sports a lot, meaning I know a lot of things. And people on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube, people were killing me when I talked about the college football playoffs and their rankings, and how it was unfair for the 1 seed to have essentially the hardest route when we got to the college football playoffs. Now, people heard that and say, well, Jalen, you're an Oregon fan. Of course you're going to feel that way. What? Or, Jalen, why should the number 1 seed, they've demonstrated that they've been the best seed in the league. Why should they have an easy way? Why should they should show that they're the number 1 seed by playing I heard it all. Jalen, do you know how wrong? Do you know how soft you sound? I heard it all. Jalen, you don't know what you're talking about, bro. The number 1 seed shouldn't have an What's the point of getting the number 1 seed if they're just going to have a cakewalk to the championship? I heard it all. And do you know what yesterday's seeding change confirmed? I was right. The NCAA changed their seeding format, so it's going to be outright seeding. So it's not going to be. It's going to be outright seeding. To put that into perspective, what that means, if you were to go back to last year's playoffs, number 1 Oregon, their road, they would have had to face the winner of Boston or Boise State in Indiana, and then they would have to face the winner of Clemson, Notre Dame, or Penn State, and then they would have went to the national championship. Just like I said last year. Again, I heard it all. Jalen, no other sport rewards their number one seeds. That's not true. Every sport rewards their number one seed. NBA, the number one seed has the easiest route. They go up against the 8th seed. Then they go up against the winner of, I think, the 3 and 4 seed, or the 4 and 5 seed, I think. You have demonstrated that you are the best team in whatever sport. Last year, Oregon demonstrated that they were the best team in the regular season. You had 18 games to demonstrate you are the best, and that's what they demonstrated. It's not, oh, you're rewarding them. They showed that they were consistently the best team in college football. If you want to go now, the Oklahoma City Thunder displayed that they were the best team in the West. So their reward is you play the 8th seed, or you play the seed that just got out of the play-in. That is your reward. You don't have to go up against a Minnesota Timberwolves first round. You don't have to go up against a Denver Nuggets first round. You don't have to go up against a LA Clippers first round. You don't have to go up against the Golden State Warriors first round. You get the worst seed in the tournament, in the playoffs, on that side of the bracket. In football, the 1 seed doesn't even play in the wild card. They play in the 2nd round at home, and it gets reseeded, meaning they play the easier seed. They play the higher seed goes to the 2. They play the easier seed. Like I said last year, college football was the format last year was the only format that essentially punished their top seed. I know you're probably hearing, damn, Jalen, you're kind of yelling, because there's a lot of energy to this. I received a lot of energy from fans, a lot of them. And I'm not saying fans of the show, fans of college football is like, bro, you're only saying this because you're an Oregon fan. No, I'm saying this because I know what's right, I know what's wrong. And look at every single sport, team sport. The number one seed gets some type of reward, gets some type of easier path. And why do they get an easier path? Because they demonstrated throughout the regular season that they are one of, if not the best teams in that whatever sport. And the vindication was yesterday. The college football playoffs was like, you know what, Jay? You might be right. Because let me tell you what have happened. I will tell you, if they did not change that, I'm going to tell you what would happen. And you know that this would have happened because they changed it immediately. Because they're not dumb. This is a committee. They're not dumb. They may not make the best decision from time to time, but they're not stupid. They know what have happened. Oregon, let's say any team. A team demonstrates that they're the best team in the nation all season. I can tell you what they will do. They will look and say, all right, would it be beneficial to win our conference championship if that means that with us winning our conference championship, we'd have to go up against a Penn State, then we'd have to go up against an Ohio State. No, I'm sorry. Back up. We'd have to go up against Ohio State the first game. After sitting for 2+ weeks after winning the Big Ten championship, should we just lose it? Because if we lose the Big Ten championship, then that means we have to play an extra game, but we play SMU. Then after we play SMU, we play the winner of Boise State in Indiana. Then after that, we'd have to worry about Ohio State in the national championship, but we already have 2 games under our belt. So what the rule change or the seating change is telling you is they know, just like I knew what was going to happen if they didn't change this rule, you're going to have teams deliberately tank end of seasons or tank conference championships to get better seating. Because trust and believe, everyone wants to win a conference championship, but they really want to win a national championship. Do you know how many Pac-12 conference championships Oregon has? Now, do you know they have last year's Big Ten championship? Nobody talks about that because they were the number 1 seed and they got destroyed against Ohio State the first game of the conference or college football playoffs. When you saw someone like Penn State, they had to go up against SMU, then they had to go up against Clemson, I think. Oh, no, come on now. Notre Dame? I know Notre Dame, shout out to them. They did make it to the national championship, but still. This is my vindication. I don't want to be like the whole nana boo boo type thing, but this is them telling me, oh no, Jalen, you were right. So for all the people in my comments that was saying I sound stupid or I don't want the number 1 seeds to work. They worked the whole season. What last year's seeding would have done is it would have made conference championships obsolete. Because teams would avoid that at all costs. Teams would avoid success in the regular season and avoid success in the conference championships because they're trying to get to the college football playoffs. Because, and I said this last year, which people killed me for, there should be no reason why Penn State or Boise State had an easier road to the college football championship, or Notre Dame had an easier road to the college football championship than number 1 Oregon. And clearly the committee felt the same way because they changed it just a year in. They were like, yeah, we gotta change that. Look, man, that's all I'm saying. I'm not calling myself Notre Dame. I'm just saying. I know I watch sports, man. I do. I know this is an unpopular podcast because I have some unpopular takes, and that clearly was an unpopular take last year, but clearly I'm right. And they knew I was right. I know ain't not one of them people listen to me, but I knew what I'm talking about. What they don't want is them to trick off pretty much the conference championships. Because it's crazy how Penn State had an easier path than Oregon and they lost the Big Ten championship. That's what I'm saying. Oh man, there you have it. Hey man, we got to 2K subscribers on YouTube. Look, I'm gonna say this again. I never thought I was gonna get to 1,000. Or I'll say this. I kind of felt I was gonna get to 1,000, but there were times when I didn't think so. Like my goal was 1,000 because you always heard you get to 1,000 views and you can start getting paid. But there were a lot of times where I never thought I was going to get to 1,000. And when I got to 1,000, I was just like, I don't know. I mean, it took that long. I don't think it's going to take, it's probably going to take years to get to 2, then 3, then 4. But we finally hit 2K after damn near a couple months. I want to say thank you. I know I say this a lot, but I can't do this without you guys. For even the people that don't even tune in for the whole episode, even people that don't even tune in for a minute, but you still subscribe, I appreciate it. Even the people that don't care about the episode, don't care about the clips, all they care about is the reels, I appreciate you guys. Growth is growth, no matter where it comes from, no matter how it comes. Growth is growth, and I appreciate everyone that continues to support me. I appreciate everyone that continues to subscribe. I appreciate everyone that just continues to tune in and care about what the hell I got to say. Because I'm just another person that has a podcast, that has an opinion about something. But the fact that you guys care enough, 2,000 people care enough to hit subscribe, meaning that you wouldn't mind to hear or see me again, it's definitely appreciated. This is the 2000, and I'll see you guys at 3. But there you have it. That's been today's episode of the Unpopular Podcast. I truly, truly appreciate you guys. If you want an Unpopular Podcast shirt, hoodie, sweater, long sleeve joggers, the link is in the description below. I have multiple different colors, multiple different designs. Get your Unpopular Podcast merch today. Also, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm trying to get as many people to subscribe. Again, I appreciate 2,000 subscribers, but I'm trying to get as many people to subscribe as I can. I say it all the time. I can't grow without you guys. So please, please, please subscribe. If you know someone that likes the content that's not subscribed, please share. It means so much. Please, please. Oh, and continue to comment too. I know I just went on the whole college football rant, but I do appreciate you guys' comments. It just means that you're listening to me and you have an opinion. So on my YouTube, people, please subscribe. My DSPs, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, same deal. Please subscribe, please follow, please share. I'm trying to grow the podcast exponentially, and I'm not just trying to grow on YouTube. No platform is bigger than the other. I appreciate all you guys. For people that want to hear my luscious voice, may not want to see me, I appreciate you guys. Again, if you are subscribed or if you are listening, please, please, please follow. It means a lot, and share if you are following. On my social media, Instagram, TikTok, that's where I post pretty much daily. That's where you get the reels. That's where you get the stories. That's probably the quickest way to get to me, and we can go back and forth. Again, if you keep it respectful, don't hesitate to leave a comment. Don't hesitate and tell me how you feel about a subject or a topic. It just means that you're listening to me and you have an opinion. Both I care about. And again, if you keep it respectful, I don't mind going back and forth. I don't mind hearing your opinion. I want to hear your opinion, actually. So please, please subscribe, follow, and comment. And we'll see where it goes from there. Until next time, much love.